for killing Malice Green, for manslaughter. So what now is it that we're confronted with? We're confronted with a system that is not designed to prosecute. The judges are not accustomed to having to prosecute a police officer. The district attorneys are surely not accustomed to prosecuting a police officer. Thus, it took Tom Orloff weeks to figure out that he should bring a charge that anybody that saw the videotape shooting of Oscar Grant knew that a charge should have been brought immediately. What was so difficult for Mr. Orloff that would make him to retire, by the way?
Right.
Before he had to end his career on the case of the century. One that would determine whether or not this system actually is willing to prosecute its own bad apples. Well, let's take a look at it. We went in and we were able to participate in the opening arguments of both District Attorney or Prosecutor Stein. On day one of the opening argument, present there was the new District Attorney, not Nancy Orloff, Nancy O'Malley. Why would I call her Nancy Orloff?
Because she's going to try to get on.
And she assured me that they brought the whole team down to fight this case. So I said to her, Miss O'Malley, we need to fight this case. And those were my words to her. She said, we brought the whole team. We've got 15 people down here. Well, Mr. Stein made a decent opening argument. Could have been a little stronger, but it was decent. He raised points that the murder of Oscar Grant was not produced by Oscar and his friends, but that the murder of Oscar Grant was produced by police officers gone wild. He didn't use those words. He used the terms chaos, disorder, distrust, and one other term that he expressed was produced by the involvement of the BART officers. However, Mr. Raines made it clear that Anthony Peroni is not on trial. Johannes Mezeli is. But the chaos that was produced clearly began with the contact made by Anthony Peroni with Oscar and his friends. Now, you know, the question of even the initial contact. See, there's historical context to the contact itself that goes deep into policing in the United States. One of those reports on justifiable homicides, this one coming from the USA Today, talks about the fact that in a short span of years, I think it was 1976 to 1998, there was an average justifiable homicide per year of about 400 victims. Of those 400 victims of justifiable homicide, some 35% of the victims of justifiable homicide in the country are black males. Now, black males make up, around about 5 or 6% of the country's population. So it looks like the only place where integration works is prison and police produce homicides. The Justice Department made it clear to point out, well, black males are also responsible for the shootings of more police than other people. That's because we get shot at more than other people. If you get shot at more, you'll shoot back more. And I think that the system is very clear on that particular point, because in this city, a young man, Lavelle Mixon, engaged that very encounter. If you get shot at more, you will shoot back more. So now we're looking at the DA attempting to raise an argument to do what no district attorney has ever done before. That is to actually try a police officer for the murder of a citizen, and in this instance of a young black male, who now, for perhaps one of the few times in history, has to be defended by a system that traditionally prosecutes young black males. Now the prosecutor has the awesome task of having to defend the humanity of a young black male. Let's think of the new genre or the new position the DA has to take, given that position is not taken any other time of the year. So now we're in the heart of it. Mr. Raines' principal argument is that his man made a mistake. He's going to bring in the experts, they claim, quote unquote, in police stress and psychology, and the experts in the use of the taser. He's going to take time to contradict himself, by the way. He contradicted himself, Mr. Raines, a few times in the opening argument, because he argued against the use of video by the DA. But then in that, the DA showed still footage of Oscar with his hands behind his back, still footage of Oscar holding back his friend, still footage of Messerly looking at the gun that he was pulling out of the holster. The DA made that in the opening argument. Here is, in fact, he ran several videos in the opening argument. And as the judge said in the earlier hearings, the videos are going to make this case. The jurors were, according to some witnesses, visibly moved by watching the video in that opening argument because they had not seen it before, except maybe on the news, but surely not in a variety of angles. Well, what the DA Stein did demonstrate in that opening argument was Messerly clearly looked at the gun. In order to defend that, Mr. Raines argued you can't use a still shot because you have no sense of time. You don't know how long his eyes were on that gun in a still photo. Right. Now, of course, they've got the technology to count the time. But the point that Mr. Raines was making was you cannot use a still photo in a motion picture because it immortalizes, it ingrains in one place a position of that particular person that may not accurately depict how long that they were in this position. Well, Raines turned around and did the same thing in his argument. He said he would bring taser experts who would demonstrate the difference between pulling a weapon from a gun holster and a weapon from a taser holster, and how the kinesiological movements are different.
That's right.
Particularly as it involves the use of your thumb. So he took a picture of Messerly with his hand on the gun with his thumb sticking out. Now he said that the DA shouldn't stop the video and do this. Then he turned around and did it himself.
Wow.
And showed a picture of Messerly with his hand reaching to grip the gun with his thumb sticking out to suggest, you see that thumb there? That means he thought he was pulling his taser because you need your thumb to pull the taser. These were how opening arguments were. Well, Mr. Raines has a tough case, but remember, he's $1 million lawyer.
Right.
He knows how to throw the kitchen sink at a jury because you only have to stick on one. They would then bring in the witnesses. By the way, Mr. Raines also included in his argument that Oscar and his friends were vehemently resisting arrest, which of course we all know, and is even more clear to me now, that they did not. The prosecutor, after these arguments were made, would call the witnesses beginning on Thursday afternoon and into Friday. The witnesses that have been called to this point, all but 2, have been witnesses who captured video of the events themselves. The first witness was the county's video technician or expert to validate that what we were looking at were accurate videos transferred into various formats to make them available to the court.